Okay. The last lecture was about giving privileges to users in a system, in a database system. And it was about granting and revoking privileges. As I said before, you can, as an admin of system, you can grant or revoke privileges to a user or from a user. Here, suppose A1 decides to revoke the select privilege. The continue of this example. So I give a review of this example and then go to the next part. The review of the example. Database administrator give some privileges to A1, grant create to A1 and create schema authorization on A1, and so A1 can create a new table. Then A1, the user A1 creates relations, employee for example, and department, and then A1 gives privileges to A2, grant, insert, and delete on tables, employee, and department to A2. Then A2 was not given the with grant option, so A2 cannot give privileges to other users. Then A1 to A3. Grant select on employee and department to A3 with grant options. So A3 gives the can give privileges to other users. Why? Because the user is given with grant option. So A3 to A4 can have this one, grant select on employee to A4, but A4 cannot propagate the select privileges. Now suppose A1 decides to revoke the select privilege from A3, and A1 gives this instruction, revoke select on employee from A3. Then database management system revokes select privileges on employee from A3, but also A4, because A3 has no longer the privilege. So when you have a form of this, A1 gave privilege to A3 and A3 to A4. Then the privilege has revoked from A3, so automatically it will be deleted too. There is no longer available. Any question? Is there any to translate to Arabic? Mr. Yes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم.
Salam.
If you don't mind, Doctor, close your mic.
Yes, please.
المثال هنا اخوان على صلاحيات المنح والسحب للصلاحيات. احنا افترضنا بانه الايوان يعطي السماحيات. الان الايوان قرر سحب السماحيه من الاي 3. الإيعاز اللي يسحب السماحيات هو إيعاز revoke، فاستخدم revoke select on employee number from A3. أصلا الأي 3 منطي سماحية للأي 4، فعندما الأي 1 يقرر سحب السماحية من الأي 3 فأوتوماتيكيا راح تنسحب السماحية من الأي 4. ليش؟ لأنه الأي 1 سحب السماحية من الأي 3، فشكو سماحيات للأي 3 تسقط. Thank you, Doctor. You can continue.
Thank you. And suppose A1 wants to give back to A3 a limited. Yes. Is there any question? Yes.
Good morning, Doctor. Actually, I have a question about the last
Yes, please.
slide. If we assume here, if A1 is revoke the privilege from A3, so in
Yes.
this case, A4 will be revoked automatically. If
Yes.
A1 is granted to A3 again, is A4 have the granted again, or we should do this manually?
Yes. Here I have an example. I think here, yes. Here, if A1 wants to give back to A3 a limited capability to select on employee. For example, yes. You have your question is different from this one. I go back to here. If A1 revoke the privileges from A3, it will automatically revoke from A4. As you say, if A1 gives again the privilege to A3, A3 must run the instruction again. The privilege from A3 to A4 will not grant automatically. And here we can do something else. For example, we have here must be some space here. Create view A3 on employee as you have a table or relation with name employee. It's about it's information about employees of a, for example, company. And it has many columns or many attributes or fields here. You don't want A3 to, yes, for example, someone to have access to all of this information. So we create a view here. It's correct. Sorry, it's so correct. One moment, please. Its employee, and three of its columns are name, birth date of the employee, and address of employee. Just three of them. For example, this one and this one and this one. You want A3 to have a limited access to this table, just these three fields. So you can create a view and name it A3 employee as select name, birth date, address from employee, where, for example, the employee number, date number, for example, I don't know what is this, D number is 5. It's some year. Department number, yes. There is another field, department number. For example, we want some users have access just to this field, name, birth date and address for employees who are working in department number 5. So we give this definition. It's just a definition. And it will be saved somewhere in data dictionary, somewhere in the database management system. Then A1 give this instruction. Grant select on an A3 employee to A3 with grant option. Now the user A3 have access to employee but just from this view. It means that A3 can see just name, birth date and address from special employees who are working in department number 5. And with grant option, it means employee, this user A3 can give just this privilege to have access from this view to another users. Creating views are a way to have some security levels and to limit access to tables or main relations. Alaikum salam. Well, would you want to explain in Arabic?
يس دكتور.
Thank you.
اخوان هنا هسه اجى المثال بتحديد الصلاحيات. يعني افرض عندك جدول يتكون من 20 حقل، هو يريد ينطي هسه السماحيه لليوزر ان يشوف 3 حقول بس، بشرط ان يكون القسم مالتهم رقمه 5. زين، فهو هنا قرر ان يعيد هاي الصلاحيه، جزء من هاي الصلاحيه علما للاي 3. الايعاز اللي يكون هاي الصلاحيه هو الكرييتيف فيو، هنا بس فيو علما للاي 3 امبلوي، ينطيه يشوف بس النيم والبيرث ديت والادرس، 3 حقول فقط من مجموعه كان يكون عندنا قلنا تقريبا خلينا نقول 20 50 حقل، ماكو مشكله. والشرط ان يكون الدينام يساوي 5. هذا راح يشوف بس هاي البيانات. بعدين يقدر هاي اللي يحصلها يمنح هاي الصلاحيه علما للاي 3. الاي 3 حصل الجرانت بان يشوف هاي البيانات. هذا يقول بانه هذا اكو بمستوى من الامنيه للبيانات. ثانك يو دكتور.
Thank you. I will upload the next slide. Well, I don't know if I have a mistake. This week I checked the Darsa system, and we have one session. I think last week we forgot to have the second session. I don't know. It's confusing. Have you checked the system last week? Did you check the system last week? We had to have 2 sessions last week because this week I checked, it was 1 session. Next week is 2 sessions. Okay. What about the previous session last week? Maybe I mistake. 2 sessions. But we had 1 session, yes? I forgot. So today we have one session, and next week we have two sessions. Okay. If there was, okay. Well, um, now we have two other ways to define security levels. MAC, mandatory access control, and RBAC, role-based access control for multi-level security. Here, MAC is additional security policy that classifies data and user based on security classes. We had an example in previous session about the military, if you remember. This was a good example for this access control because of the levels of users in a military system is very well defined from top to bottom, and so it's a very good example here. Here we have typical security classes. For example, we have top secret, secret, confidential, and unclassified. From top to bottom, the security is going low, and it's clear from the top. We have top secret, then we have secret is a lower level, confidential, and unclassified. It means it's not very important to have access to this information to public. A very famous model here is Bell Lapadula. It means it's the name of the persons who introduced this algorithm, and it's based on classification of subjects and objects. What's subject? We will have many examples in upcoming sessions, in next session. For example, subjects can be users, applications, modules, and everything, every person or every program which can have access to data. It's subject. Users can have access to data, and also other applications, modules, functions can have access to information. And objects are data modules again, applications, and other for example functions that can be accessed by users or subjects. So we have two main definitions here. One is subject It refers to any person or any function or module or application which can have access to data or objects, and objects are data and modules and any other form of functions that can be accessed by subjects. Okay,
اوكي
and explain. Thank you.
اخوان احنا اخذنا طرق الوصول، اخذنا الداك، وهسه اليوم عندنا طرق الوصول اثنين جدا اللي هن المانديتري اكسس كنترول والرول بيسد اكسس كنترول. خلي القاعده اللي عندنا هي يسمونها نظام الفئات. الفئات على مستويين، زين، مستوى اللي يطلب البيانات ومستوى اللي ينطي البيانات. يعني السبجكت خلي بالنا دائما هو اللي يطلب البيانات، والاوبجكت دائما هو اللي ينطي البيانات. قسموا هاي السماحيات، طبعا هي هاي نقول اصلها عسكري بحت، زين. قسموا كل من الى فئه، سواء السبجكت او الاوبجكت لازم ينتمي الى فئه. الكلاسز تبدي الفئات المستويات مالتها من الاعلى هي التوب سيكريت، واللي بعده السيكريت، اللي بعده الكونفيدنشال، والاخير اللي هو الانكلاسيفايد تقدر تقول عنه بوبليك. هذا بيانات بسيطه ممكن اي واحد يشوفها. هذا التقسيم يمشي على السبجكت وايضا يمشي على الاوبجكت. واحد من النماذج هذه اللي راح تدرسها هسه بالسلايد القادم اعتقد هو البيل لابدولا موديل. دول الاشخاص اللي سووا هذا الموديل والتصنيف هذا للوصول للبيانات. ثانك يو دكتور.
Thank you. In a mandatory access control, the main, yes, please.
I'm sorry, doctor, could you just go back to the previous?
Yes.
I have a
1
question.
minute.
Actually, you mentioned the modules in the two classified. In the subject, you mentioned the models, and the object, you mentioned the models. So, actually, it's making me confused.
Yes. I can explain it like this. When we are talking about subjects, it means, for example, we have user 1 can have access to a database. So here we have object. Then we have some applications, modules, or functions which they have also access to this object. From this view, these applications or modules are subject. But we have another view too, because the applications or modules or functions or also can be considered as object. Why? Because maybe some users here will have access to this application or modules or function. So from this viewpoint, they can be viewed as object. Now we can define this user as a subject, can have access to this application or module or function. And from another view, this module or function or application can have access to some objects or can have access to some other applications. From this view, an application can be considered as a subject. Is it clear or not?
It's very, very clear. Thank you, doctor. You can continue, please.
Thank you. Well, here we have a simple security property. Subject is not allowed read have access to object O unless class S is bigger or equal than class O. What's class? It's here. It's the class. Top secret is a class, secret or confidential and or unclassified. And the top secret is bigger than secret. Secret is bigger than confidential. Confidential it has a bigger class. For example, we can have some numbers here. For example, 4, 3, 2, or 1. So here we say subject S is not allowed read access. It cannot read information from object O unless class S is bigger than class O. For example, we say the boss of a company, the manager of company has a bigger class. The manager class moment okay is top secret, for example. And we have some data. For example, we have for example top secret data 1, which is top secret 2. So the manager can have access to this data. Then we have an employee 1, which level, which class is, for example, secret. So the employee 1 cannot have access to data 1 because data 1 is classified as top secret. So this employee cannot have access to this data 1. But the manager whose class is top secret can have access to data 1, which class is top secret 2. Or the lower level, for example, data 2 is secret or confidential or unclassified. This employee 1 can have access to data which is secret or confidential or lower level. And we have a property, star property. We show this with star. Subject not allowed to write an object unless class S is less than or equal class O. It may be some a little confusing. I will discuss about it in the whiteboard. It prevents information from flowing from higher to lower classification. I go to whiteboard because I want to have an example here. Consider we have some subjects or users here.